Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome back to my Sims 4 speedbuilding video, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. So in today's video I'm going to be building in the world of Sequoia, which is the world that we got from the expansion pack The Sims 4 Growing Together, and I'm going to be building a realistic suburban family home. So this house ends up having 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and it's built on a 30 by 20 lot. It's built on one of them awkward ones though, you know where it's bigger left to right than front to back. I always struggle when it comes around to building on this particular shaped lot, but in the world of Sequoia there just seems to be a lot of these like awkwardly shaped 30 by 20s, but either way, this week I just really fancied sitting down and building something in a more like classic Sims 4 style. Now what I mean by that is whenever I think of the Sims 4 and like a classic Sims 4 house, this is basically what comes to my mind, like a classic suburban with some sort of like coloured sliding, a nice thick white roof trim, maybe sometimes I might have like some sort of like white picket fence or something. I just feel like it's been some time since I've built just like a classic suburban house, and so this week I just really fancied it, and so yeah, that is basically what I did. I hope you guys like it. But getting on and actually talking a little bit more about the build itself. So I'm referring to this house as a realistic suburban home because I wanted to build something that was like a classic suburban, but I wanted to try and make it feel as realistic as what I could possible. That more so came through, I think, on like the exterior back garden, which the back garden in this house was so much fun to decorate because basically coming into this build, I wanted it to feel like a Sims family actively live in this house. Like their house, it's not perfect. They could probably do with hoovering it. They could probably do with getting the lawnmower out. There is loads of different like nooks and crannies that probably need like a bit of a tidy up. They probably need to have a bit of a clear out in this house, but I just wanted to make it feel as realistic as what I could. In the back garden, I did something which I have been meaning to do for so long, and it was build some sort of like, I don't know, blow up pool. You know them pools that you can just like put air into it and then you put water into it, like a paddling pool. I don't know why I forgot the word of paddling pool then. It's like one of them, but like on a bigger scale. Like it's not like a paddling pool for kids, it's more so like a paddling pool for adults. I feel like they've got a name, but I don't know what they're called, but hopefully you're following my drift. One of them pools that you can just buy from like your local homeware shop, whether that be like, I don't know, B&Q or Target, or I don't know, any other shops that might sell it. I've never been to Target in the US. I actually really want to go to Target, but I'm just assuming that they would sell it there. But either way, I made one of them in this back garden, and it felt so realistic to me. And I also placed down like odd bits of furniture here and there, which I feel like a lot of the time in back gardens, it's quite rare to have complete sets of like matching furniture. Like not everyone's got matching tables and chairs and sun lounges and side tables and like a matching barbecue area that just so happens to match the counters, and I just tried to make it feel as realistic as I could possible in this house. And yeah, it was a lot of fun to do. But in terms of the bedrooms, like I said, there ends up being 3 bedrooms. There is one for a kid, one for a teenager, and then there is one for a set of parents. But then I also decided to make it so it's also a part nursery for an infant, which for me, I just absolutely love this because I feel like it's just so much more realistic. Because in my head, infants are newborns, because in The Sims 4 we have object babies, we have infants, we have toddlers, and then so on and so forth. Not gonna lie, I do not use the object babies at all. Like literally my Sim, she would have just gone to the hospital, she would have just been in labour, she would have given birth to the object baby. I quite literally take the baby home, take a picture of it just for the memories, and then I'll age them straight up into an infant, just because object babies are boring. And so with the infant life stage, you've got more to do with them. Like they're a little bit more rubbery, if you want to put it that way, rather than the object baby is still tied to the crib. And so in my head, infants are like newborns, and it's so realistic in a lot of houses to, once you give birth to a baby, to sleep in the same room as them. You know, in The Sims, maybe the kid hasn't been able to sleep through the night yet. Maybe they haven't unlocked that ability. Maybe they need like nighttime feeds, or maybe the parents want to take it in terms of like soothing the baby if they've had a nightmare or something. I never do parents and infants like areas in the same room. But yeah, for this house, I just felt like it was so much more realistic, and so yeah, that is what I decided to do. And then also, apart from the actual 3 bedrooms, there is another bed in this house, but it just so happens to be downstairs in the home office, and I tried to make it look like there was a pull-out bed out of one of the sofas, because to me, again, this is quite realistic. A lot of people have them sofas what have pull-out beds in. Me, myself, I've got one downstairs, don't know why, because no one ever uses it. I don't think anyone's ever used it, but some sofas have the function to be able to pull it out and make it into a bed if people want to come and like have a sleepover or like stay over at your house or something. And so downstairs in the home office, I was thinking, well, this family has got a newborn baby. They've also got another couple of kids. So they've already got like a kid and then also a teenager. Maybe the parents want like a bit of a helping hand when it comes around to just making sure the other kids are like fed and they get to school on time and, you know, all of their stuff is still taken care of. I was thinking, well, what about if you've got like your Sims grandparents that want to come over, they want to stay and they want to help take care of the newborn, but I don't want to have like a dedicated guest bedroom, because to me that's quite unrealistic. But what is quite realistic is if you have some sort of like pull out bed out of like a sofa. And so yeah, in the home office I decided to make it look like there was a sofa and there was like a mattress pulled out of the actual sofa itself. It's fully functional, it's like fully usable. Your Sims can actually sleep in the bed. They can't sit on the sofa because I did merge a mattress into it, but yeah, it looks like one of them pull-out beds that you would just have in like your house, in your home. So I mean, if you wanted to, once the infant has aged up into like a toddler or maybe into a kid, and you don't want to have the children share bedrooms, which I feel like children sharing bedrooms in houses is very realistic anyway, but if you didn't want to do that, then yeah, there is definitely space to have another bedroom or potentially another bedroom on top of that one, because in this house as well, there is a little garage, which you can see the garage on like the exterior. I've got this like garage mural. On the inside, I make it into a garage. So in there, I place down a woodworking table. I place down some sort of like beverage looking fridge, if you catch my drift, like an older one that looks a little bit rusty. I place down some like spider webs, there is punching bags, there is a few basically activity building things in the garage. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could also make that into another bedroom. But anyway, moving on from that and actually getting back and talking about what I'm doing right now. So as you can see, I'm currently playing around with the driveway and I'm trying to make it look like the kid in this household has, one, got a hopscotch, and two, did some like chalk drawings on the driveway itself. So starting off with the hopscotch, because this is kind of like where the idea to make the driveway look a little bit more fun started off with. I think it's because, you know, we've got the Sims 4 for Rent expansion pack coming out. I've been watching the trailer a ton. I don't know about you, but I keep on rewatching the trailer over and over again. And just yesterday, I don't know if you caught it, but we got a new gameplay trailer for the expansion pack. I'm so excited to get my hands in the pack and just play around with it and just look at all the different build and buy things and just build townhouses. I'm very excited about this new expansion pack. But for the trailer for this new DLC, we've got showing that we're getting hopscotch for kids, which I could not be more excited about just one single object, just because I know it might seem like such a small little thing, but them kind of things that make such a massive difference when it comes around to gameplay, because not everyone's going to have like monkey bars in their back garden, not everyone's going to be able to have like a swing set or just stuff like that. I feel like smaller objects outside for kids are just so much more realistic, like a hopscotch. And I think I've just watched the trailer for this new DLC so many times that when it came around to doing this build, I was looking at the driveway and I was thinking, that could do with the hopscotch. Now originally I did try and set out to build it using some fence pieces. I tried to use a fence that we got from, I think it's the Sims 4 Get to Work. It's just like a really small little skinny like fence. It's really low down, and originally I was going to try and build the hopscotch using that, but where the fence kind of works off the grid system in the game, I couldn't do it to look like a traditional hopscotch, because normally you'd have like one block and then two blocks and then one block and then two blocks, if that makes any sense. But the way that the grid system works in the game, I was only being able to build it so it was like one block and then three blocks and then one block, and it just looked a little bit weird. And then I remembered, well, we've got them like weird pool trim things, which I think are from the Spa Day expansion pack. They pretty much look like a fence, or the fence that I was going to use anyway. Why don't I use them? Because then that way I can freely move them around. And so yeah, that is basically what I did. I then counted all the different squares to make sure they added up to 10. So if you're wondering, they do technically add up to 10. And then I tried to find some sort of like little signs to make it look like chalk drawings of the different numbers, but unfortunately we didn't have enough to be able to place down one in every single little block, so I decided to use some like base game wall decals. The ones that I've used are from, I think, the latest patch update, because we recently got a patch update and we've got a couple of different like new base game items, and the little like wall decal signs with like the little arrows, that is one thing that came from this new like base game patch update. I thought, well, it kind of works as letters or like as numbers, because instead of having the numbers of what your Sims are jumping on, it could just be like the direction to jump in. And so I placed them down on the floor, and then using the tool mod, I basically rotated the ball decals so they were sitting flush to the floor. You would have also seen me place down a random load of like pink water bottles in between the squares themselves. That's purely because I wanted the little decals to be dead center of the squares, and so placing down the little like water bottles helped me like mark out where the center of it was. But yeah, I just rotated with the tool, and then that was done. And then I thought, well, why don't I add some like chalk drawings onto the outside driveway? Looks like the kid in this house, maybe they were given like a fresh set of like crayons or chalk or something for their birthday, and they wanted to do some drawing. Why don't I make it look like the kid has drawn something outside onto the driveway? And so what I did, I just went into like the kids category in the game, found some sort of like wall decal items that look like they're chalk drawn anyway, like they look like they had been drawn with a bit of chalk rather than like painted on. And then again, using the tool mod, I just rotated them down and made it look like, yeah, they were on the actual drive. I really hope that makes sense, but if you've got any questions, feel free to ask me. But anyway, besides the point, moving on, because I just rambled over doing the majority of the back garden, which the back garden in this house, it is just so simple and it's so realistic, but it just makes me really happy just because it looks like an actual back garden that you would find typically in a lot of people's houses. So you can see what I mean by that, the kind of like blow up adult pool. There is a name for it, I swear there is a name for it, but I just don't know the name for it. It's like a paddling pool for adult. I've even tried googling it. Google's not telling me anything either, but it's kind of like a pool that is not built into the floor. It's kind of like one that you can buy at a hardware store. I basically just made a room and then pulled the room up, removed the walls and made it so it's just kind of like a foundation piece. I then just built the pool around it, and then I attached a little staircase onto the side of it so then your Sims can get in and out of the swimming pool. Like I said, this is something that I have been meaning to do for so long. At this point, I've seen so many people do it before in so many previous like speed build videos, and I always look at it and I think that looks so cool, but then I always forget whenever I do these kind of like more realistic suburban family homes. But earlier this week I was on Twitter and I ran into this tweet, which is by the person Gloomy Dahlia. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm really sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but basically they tweeted a picture of one of their neighbourhoods in the world of Willow Creek, and in the back garden they had one of these pools, and I just so happened to be doing this build this week, run into this picture, was thinking, oh my god, yes, I need to actually do that. And so if you know who that person is, then yeah, they kind of reminded me that this was a thing that you can do in the game, and that is the reason why there ends up being a swimming pool in the back garden. I wanted to mention that just because whenever I do anything that's inspired by anyone else, I think it's always really nice just to, you know, give that person the credit and stuff. But yeah, it was partly inspired, funnily enough, by a tweet that I saw earlier this week. What I'll do actually is I'll link that person's Twitter in the description box down below, because they seem to be able to build some very nice things in the game, and so you might like them. And yeah, I'll link that person's Twitter in the description box down below if you fancy checking it out. But anyway, besides the point, in the actual pool itself, I placed down a little pizza floaty, and then I also sized up like a dog or a cat toy, and I made it look like a beach ball. And when I was in gameplay, like when I was playtesting this house, I noticed that it was bobbling in the water, which I did not expect that to happen. I just expected it to be like static and to stay still, but it kind of moved with like how the water would move in the wind. It was a nice little like realistic touch that I realised. But then also in the back garden, there ends up being a single sun lounger. I used a plastic looking one because I feel like that's more realistic. If you're going to have a sun lounger, it's probably going to be one like that. And then I also placed down like a little barbecue. I placed down a little picnic table. The one that I've used is from Jungle Adventure. It looks like it's got loads of different like scratches and marks. It looks like it's been weathered. Like that picnic table has been for a thunderstorm before and it looks like it. And then I also placed down a little like washing laundry line and then some planters. But anyway, moving on from that, as you can see, I've moved on into the inside of the house. Started off by like the little front entrance hallway, and now as you can see, I've now moved over and I've started doing the kitchen. I feel like I built this house in a bit of a weird way, because the front entrance hallway, which I initially started off with, kind of opens up into like the dining room, which I did try and start furnishing, but I didn't really know how I wanted the dining room to look because I felt like I needed to do the kitchen first. And so you will see me go back into like that open plan like entrance hallway area, but I just kind of wanted to figure out how the kitchen was going to look, what kind of decorations we're going for, what kind of style of counters we're going to go for, and then kind of like work off the dining room off that, if that makes any sense. But in the kitchen, I went for my all-time favourite counters, these ones that are from base game. Honestly, the amount of times I've used these counters now in just any kind of, but they're just my favourite. I just love them so much, and they're base game as well, which is brilliant because most people have this in their game. I say most people, everyone has this in the game if they own The Sims 4, because The Sims 4 is now a free-to-play game, and I just love the mesh of them, and they come in some really nice colours. But I decided to use these in combination with this oven, which is from Parenthood, and then I used this fridge, which again is a base game fridge, but I didn't want this house to have like the most up-to-date, most fancy looking furniture. Like, I wanted it to be realistic, and not everyone's going to have one of them fancy like big American style fridges that have like a water dispenser and stuff like that. And so I used like a more realistic older fridge, and then I went through the debug menu and I placed down like loads of different, what I imagine to be shopping lists or like grocery lists, and like little post-it notes and things that I imagine that maybe the kid has drawn in school and is proudly displaying on the fridge. This sort of thing really makes me wish that we had fridge magnets in the game, because I think it would be so cool if we could have, you say for example, if your Sims go on vacation, say to like, I don't know, Silver Dorado or Granite Falls, or say if they go on vacation to like Sulani or something, every single time that they travel, they had the ability to pick up like a little fridge magnet, and then you can pop it onto your Sims fridge, and it's kind of like a timeline of all their different holidays. I love that idea, but unfortunately we do not have them in the game, and we also don't have any fridges that look like they've got fridge magnets on them. And so normally what I like to do is just merge in loads of different like posters and like sticky notes and just things that look like they have been popped onto the fridge through day-to-day life. But also in this kitchen, there ends up being a little microwave area. There is also a little coffee station, and then also move objects, a dirty looking cup or like dirty mug into the sink. Again, to me, this is just so realistic, because the amount of times I just go into my kitchen and I just place down like the coffee mug or the mug that I've used for a cup of tea or something in the day, and I'll just place it down into the sink and then I'll come back to it later. I just feel like that's so realistic. But with the everyday clutter kit, we got a collection of, I think it's 3 mugs together as a kind of like a cluster, but then we also got an individual mug. And I placed down an individual mug. The one that I've used looked like it's got like some sort of tea stains or coffee stains onto it, and I moved objects here into the sink. Sink is still fully functional, like you can still wash your hands, wash your dishes, get water, like you can still use the sink to its like full capabilities, if you want to put it that way. It's just like a nice little realistic touch, if you want to put it that way. But then also in the kitchen, I end up placing down like a little breakfast bar. There also ends up being the Parenthood board. I feel like I've forgotten about that Parenthood board, to be completely honest with you. I remember when we first got the Parenthood game pack, I would use that Parenthood board in literally every single house that I ever build, but I just feel like in more recent years, I kind of forget about it. But it is a really nice thing for gameplay, because if you're not aware, with the Parenthood board that I placed down onto kind of like the back kitchen wall, your Sims can set curfews, they can write notes to one another, they can put little drawings onto the actual Parenthood board. It's a small little thing, but for like family gameplay, I just find it really nice. And so I popped that into the kitchen, and then just off the kitchen, we go into the little laundry room. To be honest with you, as a Brit, I really wanted to place down the washing machine and the tumble dryer into the kitchen, because if you've ever been to England, if you live in England, you're probably familiar with the fact that we keep our washing machines and tumble dryers in the kitchen. To me, it's very normal, and it makes perfect sense. I know in different countries, people have like separate rooms. Like there is a certain country, I can't remember which one it is, but it's very common to have your washing machine and your tumble dryer in your bathroom. Again, that does kind of make sense, but to me, it's very realistic in a house to walk into a kitchen and you've got your washing machine and you've got your tumble dryer. But half the time, people don't even have tumble dryers. You just have like one of them little inside hanging clothesline things. But for the way the floor plan for this house turned out, there was actually space to have a separate little like utility room, and so I did make one. It's got a washing machine, it's got a tumble dryer, also placed down some like artwork that maybe the kid has done in school or something, and then there is also a back door which kind of like leads out into the back garden. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into that like open floor plan dining room hallway entrance space. So I basically just wanted to figure out the kitchen, figure out what kind of style I was going for, and then revisit this room so then I can kind of decorate it to match to some sort of degree. One thing that I did in this room, which I feel like I'm going to get some questions about, is the rug, because basically I wanted to use this rug that we got from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. It's kind of like this cream and white, can't remember the name of the print, but it's this sort of like pattern. but I really wanted it to have tassels. So basically what I did is I just found a rug that was in the build and buy category that had tassels, and I basically just merged it underneath the rug that I wanted to be like on the top. Because the thing is with rugs in The Sims 4, you can layer rugs, and whatever rug you last place or whatever rug you last click on will be the one that's brought to the top of the rug layers, if that makes any sense. And so yeah, basically what I did is I went for the build and buy category, found this one particular rug, the one that I've used is from Laundry Day. I then merged in 4 of them together because I needed the dimensions to be right, and I didn't want any like overhang of the original rug coming underneath the rug that I wanted to like layer it on. I basically put 4 of them together. Again, I used some water bottles so I could see where the edges of the rug on top would sit, and then yeah, I just merged them in together, and then I placed down the cats and dogs rug on top of it, and now it looks like that rug has tassels. To be honest, looking back on the footage, I probably made it seem so much more long-winded than what it actually is, and it's only because, I don't know if you would have noticed, but I'm actually building on a 1 platform height. So when your Sims would enter through the front door, they're on like a normal level, but then they kind of have to step up from like the entrance hallway into the rest of the house. We're on 1 platform click, and I don't know what it is, but rugs and platforms in the game are a bit funny, they're a bit weird, they're a bit like fiddly sometimes, and so when I was trying to place down the rugs, some of them kept on disappearing, and it looks so much harder than what it actually is. But I promise you, it's actually just really easy. You place down a rug, and then if you just want the end piece of it, you then place down another rug on top of it, and then just cover the parts that you don't want, and then yeah, you can make somewhat of a custom rug piece. It's not really a custom rug, but you catch it, hopefully catch my drift. But anyway, moving on, besides the point, as you can see, I've now moved over into the next room, which is the lounge room. So in here, I really wanted this to be a proper family room. I really wanted it to feel realistic. This family, they spend a lot of their time in here together, whether it be like the parents, whether it be the teenager, the infant, the kid. I wanted there to be something for pretty much everyone in this room. And so you'll see I placed down a little playmat in like the centre of the lounge room. That way all the members of the family that can like sit up properly can then sit on the sofas, and then the infant can be in the little like playmat itself in front of the TV, either playing with like the little tassy things in the playmat or just having a nap or something. I then also placed down a fire guard in front of the fireplace, because I placed down the playmat in front of the fireplace, and then part of me was thinking that's very dangerous, do not do that. I wanted there to be some sort of like guard so that like the infant wouldn't be able to like accidentally roll over and touch the fireplace, even though that's not a thing in the game. For me, I don't know, I just felt funny just having like an open flame fireplace next to a infant playmat. And so I basically found this divider. The one that I've used is from the Decorator to the Max kit. I sized it down and I popped it inside of the fireplace, and yeah, it looks like it's got some sort of like safety measurements in place so no one can accidentally touch the fire. And also, if you're wondering, it's fully functional, it fully works, even though it looks like it shouldn't work, because I've literally just sized down an object and merged it into another object. Weirdly enough, it worked. I mean, I'm not complaining, it's great because I can then place down like these more realistic touches in builds and make it so it's actually functional. But also in that room, I ended up placing down a couple of bookcases, and then also some sort of like little table that looks like it's got a teapot, and then also some little cups. But now moving over, as you can see, I've now moved on into the next room, which is the home office, also kind of guest bedroom area. So in here, this is the room that I was talking about, where I wanted there to be some sort of like sofa pull-out bed, because that's quite realistic, I feel like. I do imagine this to be like a normal home office. I was thinking that maybe one of the parents that lives in this house has maybe like a work from home like office job or something. They spend the majority of their time in this room, and so I tried to decorate the rest of it to be quite officey. So I placed down this little computer desk with a computer on it, and then I placed down like the calendar on the wall. I placed down like an extra storage unit off to the side, and then I put some like puzzles and random bits and bobs on top of it. But then on the other side, I just tried to make it look like, yeah, the mattress was coming out of the sofa bed itself. So I used a base game 2-seater love seat. I used one in like a cream swatch, which honestly, I never use this sofa. It is really nice, but I just feel like where we've had it in the game for so long, I tend to not use it just because I'm so familiar with it, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But it's actually a really nice sofa. But either way, I placed that down, I sized it up ever so slightly, and then I found this bed in the debug menu. This is one that you can find if you've got eco lifestyle, because I think this is one that your Sims can make on like that little fabricator machine, if you're familiar. But I placed this one down, I merged it into it, and it just so happens to like slot in perfectly. It does kind of look like the bed is coming out of the sofa, and to me, I'm just thinking at the minute, nan and granddad around because baby's just been born. They need a helping hand in this household. And so the sofa bed has just been pulled out, the bed's been made, and maybe the grandparents are currently staying in it whilst they're helping look after the new infant. But yeah, that was kind of like the little home office. I never do that, and I feel like I should maybe do this in more kind of builds. I really wish actually we had something like this in the game already, so we didn't have to actually like make it look like a sofa bed. Like, I really wish we had some sort of like sofa bed function that works like that. We do have the Murphy beds that we got from the Tiny Living stuff pack, but I don't know, I just never really seem to use that stuff pack that much, and it's only because we have a certain set of like wood tones that we got from that DLC, which the particular wood tones that we got from that pack are just not my favourite. They're not ones that I often tend to use, and so when it comes around to building with the Tiny Living stuff pack, I rarely use items from that DLC. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do really like it, and I do really like it in like the white swatches and the black swatches, but in terms of like the brown oaky tones, they're more orangey, and it's just not my cup of tea. But either way, moving on, besides the point. As you can see, I've now moved over into the next room, which is the home garage. So in here, I want it to be as realistic as I could possible. And one of the things I wanted to try and make sure was a thing in this garage was to have a bicycle hanging off the wall. Now, I don't know if you would have seen, but I did actually faff with a bike for quite some time because I was using the tool mod to level it up to look like it was being like mounted onto the wall. But then it kept on dropping, then it kept on rotating weird, and I was just having a bit of a nightmare when it came around to placing down this bike. But basically, I just feel like it's quite realistic to, if you've got a garage, to have like bicycles either hanging off the ceiling or hanging off the walls for more like space saving kind of things. And so what I did is I moved objects into the actual wall itself, so I basically raised it up, but then I wanted it to look like it's got some sort of like support mechanism, because otherwise it's quite literally just a bike floating in the air. And so what I did is I went back into the build category and I got some sort of like little spandrel ledge, I think it's called, and I basically sized them down and then I moved them kind of like underneath the bike frame to make it look like these look like pieces of spandrely things are like holding the bike up, if that makes any sense. And then underneath it I placed down a woodworking table. I then also placed down some counters and then cluttered them up with like old TVs, a radio station, some like workman tool kind of looking things. And then also in the garage I placed down an old looking fridge. I was personally thinking it was like a beverage fridge, if you catch my drift, but I placed one of them down, and the one that I've used is from the City Living expansion pack. It looks like it's a little bit more weathered, it looks like it's got rust in the corners, and it just looks like it belongs in a garage. And then I placed down like a spider web above it, and then I also placed down some sort of like little wagon. The one that I've used is from the little campers kit. I then also placed down like a boxing bag into that room. I then also brought in the garage mural that was on the outside of the house to then also on the inside of the house, so then your Sims can spray graffiti on both the outside and then also on the inside. And then I also placed down a darts board, so in total your Sims can actually do quite a lot of skill building items. Like there's a lot of different activities within that room itself, but I just think it's really handy sometimes to have a garage in your Sims houses, because to me, in my own personal gameplay, I use them as like bits and bobs rooms. Because the thing is, when you play the game yourself, sometimes you just accumulate so many different things, and there's so many different like hobby building items that you want to have in your Sims house, but sometimes it's a bit weird if you have them in like your lounge room or something. Like the amount of times I'll just shove, you know, the scouts board that we got from Seasons where your Sims can be like little scouts, the amount of times I just shove that into the garage because it's not the nicest looking object, but it adds gameplay and I want to have it in my Sims houses. So I always find that having a garage in my Sims house is just, yeah, it's just really handy, because you can just basically shove everything that you might not want to look at all the time into that room. You've still got access to it, but it's kind of just on a bit of a separate part of the house, if that makes any sense. But as you can see, I've now moved on to the upstairs portion of the build. I just did one of the bathrooms. Now there is 2 bathrooms upstairs. There is the one that I just shown, and then there is also a really small, I think it's like 3 tiles, I don't know, yeah, 3 tiles by 2 tile bathroom. It's really small. It's got a shower and bath combo, a toilet and a sink. But the one that I just shown, I was just more so thinking was more like the family bathroom, like everyone would use. And the other one is just kind of like a a spare in case someone's in the loo in the other one. And so in the main one, I ended up placing down the shower and bath combo that we got from the Growing Together expansion pack. I then use the counters that we got from Parenthood and then a base game sink. And then on top of the counters, I just cluttered it up. I just went to town with the clutter. I placed down loads of different like bits and bobs and just like little stuff that I feel like you would have in your bathroom. So I placed down like a debug razor that we got from the High School Years expansion pack, because if you're not aware, Sims can now like shave their beard, or they can shave their legs, or they can shave different areas of their body. But if you go into the debug menu and you've got the High School Years expansion pack, you can actually find the razor. So I placed down one on top of like the bathroom counters. I was thinking that's one for your Sim's face, and then I also moved objects one on top of like that bath shower combo. Like I moved it onto like the ledge of the bath. I was thinking that razor would be for your Sim's legs. But then also on the counter I placed down like a little debug mirror. Again, that is from the High School Years debug menu. Your Sims will use it when they shave like their beard or something, and there's like a little handheld mirror. I just moved objects that onto the counterpiece. I then also placed down like bars of soap and lotions and toothpaste and toothbrushes and just loads of different random bits and bobs basically. I think I also placed down some makeup as well in the bathroom, but I just tried to make it feel lived in. It's not exactly put together, it's not exactly perfect, but I feel like that's just so realistic. Like not everyone at every single point in time is going to have everything be in its perfect place, especially in your bathroom. And so yeah, that was one of the bathrooms. And then you quickly just see me do the upstairs hallway, but now I've moved over into the first bedroom, which is the kids' bedroom. So in here I decided to go for this bed, which we got from the kids room stuff pack, I think it's from. To be honest with you, I never use that bed. Probably the only reason why I placed this bed down into this particular room is because I feel like when it comes around to decorating kids' rooms, in my builds, I'm not gonna lie, I do have like a handful of beds that I like to pick from, because there's only a select amount of beds and bed frame colours that I actually like in the game. Because the thing is, with the way that we're given single beds, we have like the bed frame and then we have the duvet swatch, and if you want to have a particular duvet swatch, it will then change the bed frame colour. But with doing that for kids' beds, there is some weird looking swatches, and so normally I have like a select amount of beds that I like to use for kids' rooms, and I just feel like I always leave this bed out. And so for this room, I didn't really come in with any like certain personality in mind, any kind of hobbies or anything. I wanted it to be generic, but I just wanted to use this bed. And so in here I ended up using this wardrobe, which is from the kids stuff pack. It's got like some pictures of like other kids. I was thinking maybe the kid that sleeps in this room, that's all their mate, that's all their school friends. And then there is also a little bookcase. There is also a little tiny penguin TV just kind of plonked on this table, which is like opposite the bed. I also placed down at the video games console, because I've recently said in the speed build that I never place down the video games console unless I've got like some sort of armchair for people to sit on, because to me, whenever I play test, my Sims will never seem to lay in bed and play video games. But a lot of people told me that Sims can lay in their beds and play video games, and so I placed down the little penguin TV, and then I also placed down the video games console. But then when I came in and I was playtesting this build, my Sim still wouldn't lay on the bed and play video games. They would like awkwardly stand in the middle of the room. So I'm not sure if maybe I've got some sort of weird bug glitch thing happening. I'm not sure what's going on, but so many people have told me that Sims can lay in their bed and play video games, but it ain't happening in my game. I don't know what's going on there, but either way, I did decide to place it down just in case you're one of the lucky people that somehow can play video games when they're in bed, or like your Sims can. I placed that down into that room. I also placed down like a little laptop area, and then also a void critter station in like the middle, so they can like play void critters. But anyway, moving on, as you can see, I have now moved over to the next bedroom, which is the parents' room, and then also part nursery. So in here, this was such a big room, and even though I was kind of combining two different age groups in this room, I still didn't know what to do with a lot of the space. I did try and section it to some degree, so we have kind of like the infant nursery related bits and bobs and all them kind of items for the infant on like the left hand side of the room. So I used the crib and then also the changing station, which both are from The Sims 4 Growing Together DLC, because for some reason we still do not have a changing station available in The Sims 4 base game, which I really think that we should. Even it's kind of like locked to the Growing Together DLC, which I really wish it wasn't. I really wish it was a base game item, but either way, besides the point. I use the crib and then also the changing station. Also attach a little bin, so when your Sims are changing nappies, they can just pop it into the bin and they're not like floating around on the floor and stuff. I then also struggled for so long on what to do on top of like the changing station itself, because I wanted there to be some sort of like clutter decoration. I wanted there to be some sort of like extra nappies, extra soda cream, extra like little bits and bobs to change a nappy with, but none of the pieces that I wanted to use would clip to the shelving unit, and I didn't want to move objects to them, because then when you go into half wall up, half wall down mode, then they'll be floating, and to me personally that just really annoys me. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up placing down just like a base game shelf, and then I moved objects, I think a pen pot, which to be honest is a bit random, but I moved objects, a pen pot, and then also a box of tissues onto like the actual shelving unit, just so it's got a little bit of clutter, a little bit of decoration. And then on the actual changing station itself, I then placed down some nappies and the soda cream. Then also in that room, I ended up placing down like an armchair by the crib. I was thinking nighttime feeds, or maybe like nighttime soothing or something. I was really wanting to place down a rocking chair, but we don't really have any rocking chairs in the particular style that I was decorating towards, so I just used one that we got from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. And then also in that room, I placed down like a chest of drawers wardrobe unit, and then also a mirror. But now, as you can see, I've now moved on into the last room in this house, which is the teenager's bedroom. So in here, I tried to decorate it for a teenager that's recently just aged up into a teen. And so you'll see I placed down like a big teddy bear in the corner, which teenagers in the game can't really interact with, unless, I think, and I might be wrong here, but if teenagers are angry, can they not hit it? I know that kids can definitely hit it, but I'm not sure if teenagers can interact with it at all. But I was thinking that maybe this teenager has recently aged up into a teen, and so there is still a few different like childy kind of objects in their room. You'll see near the end, I placed down this little like box of just random bits and bobs, random stuff, and then I move objects like toys on top of the box to make it look like they're their toys that they're no longer interested in, and they're yet to be moved down into the garage for like extra storage, extra like just for like another day kind of thing. But in here I use a double bed, which is from the high school years expansion pack. We also have like a little computer desk area. Also use a get together wardrobe, and then I move objects, a poster on top of it, and then I place down like a little seating area. But apart from that, I'm going to go around the room, finish it off, and that is pretty much it. So anyway guys, I'm going to end this voiceover right here. As always, you can download this build via the gallery. My gallery ID is JessicapieYT, or just search for the hashtag JessicapieYT or just the hashtag Jessicapie. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, if you do like my content, then please do subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next Sims 4 speedrunning video. Bye guys.